Sir, sorry, sir.
Srimati Ramanujaya Namaha.
स्विच ऑफ कर दीजिए ना सिर्फ
मोबाइल ऑफ कर देते हैं.
Observation of the worldly entities has instigated the curiosity inside human beings. Whatever they observe, repetitive observation of the worldly entities and the relations and the functions, that has instigated curiosity. And this curiosity is the basic major spirit which has contributed to the evolution of the industry of education or innovation. So this curiosity, it deals with 2 or 3 major possibilities. One thing, what are the things available? Just to learn, want to know about, or to know about the things that are available, number 1. Number 2, what are the things that are visible and how to adapt those things with ourselves and to make us possible. So making visible things with imaginary possibility and invisible things with imaginary possibility. If I see a bird which can fly and there is a principle of anti-gravitational force that could lift the bird to fly, why can't the same thing out of your propulsion which creates an aerodynamic compression by an aerodynamic structure, why can't I do the same thing? It is a biomimetic principle. So we can explore all possibilities, we can explore all availabilities, we can explore all visibilities into possibilities and invisibilities, imaginary invisibilities into possibilities. Now they are imagining about whole body transplantation, how to make brain transfer, how to make in vivo and in vitro brain transfer, and how to deal with the brain images being downloaded and preserved in chips, as well as to prepare even the neuroprosthetic chips. So basic thing of education is, what are the things available, number 1, what are the things that are visible and how those visible and even invisible things in imagination can be made possible, can be explored and experimented with possibility tirelessly. That is the pursuit of science. So this is how the education which has been blossoming from the scintillation, the spark of curiosity. Let me be very transparent and also brief in defining education. What is education? Education is the robe for the inner surface of the body to prevent it from nudity. Just as we have our own robes that have been wrapped outside, the inner surface of the body, that is the I or the alter ego or the consciousness level of the person, it is robed, it is wrapped, it is covered, it is shielded, it is armored by education. So a person is said to have inner or identical nudity if he is not educated. Second, education is the process of organizing the things that are available in the form of information, the collection of which is known as knowledge. We have all informations, that the birds they fly, the fishes they swim, these are informations. The informations, if they are incomplete, they do not contribute knowledge. If we are having only peripheral information about various things, none of them are going to come for our rescue, so they are not knowledges, but they are tinsels. Unless they are collected and promptly utilized in such a way that they have a definite decision and accentuation of a particular utility, then it becomes knowledge. Even after becoming knowledge, if the knowledge is not processed, if it is not made apprehendable, comprehensible and applicable, that type of system is a menace, that type of system is futile, that type of system may be even adverse in effect. So to give that particularized specific focus on organizing the principles of information, education has come. So education is defined as the skill or art of organizing all of the potential informations to give it as a shape and form. For example, they are dismantled in various things. All of those cell informations are to be collected in the form of tissues into organs, and to provide a total epistemological organic system by which a directive drive potential force is given for a person, enabling him to act and achieve on a particular faculty. That is known as education. Education is an art of organizing the collected informations and giving them a shape of potential identity and application. And no doubt it has 2 major principles. One is the learning process and second is the teaching process. What is the teaching process? It further has one more definition, very beautified definition. Teaching is the process of either configuring the organized messages as per the capacity of the person to whom it is to be instilled, as per the competency and compatibility of the person, number one, and also to induce or train the process of self-organizing within the person to deal with the three major forces. Education process, the learning process is guided by the teaching process. Teaching process, already existing organized thing, just as already organized paddy in the form of rice that is to be cooked, that is configuring as per the taste and capability of the consumer. So it is reprocessed by a teacher, it is configured. That process is known as teaching. It is on the basis of the compatibility and competency of the student. Number two, it is the process also to teach the students to self-organize themselves on the basis of three things, with the three things for three things. What are the first three things? One is understanding, and second is memory or retention or holding, and third thing is action. If the action is just by your oral method, it is presentation. If the action is by your active method, it is known as representation or demonstration. Both of these things result in achievement or accomplishment. So, to organize or to help the student in self-organizing, the principles of understanding, the principles of retention of the understood things, and the principle of overtaking the retained elements to be produced into presentation, representation, and demonstrative elements. By three major tools. For example, for understanding, we cannot expect the whole society to understand everything in a single schedule or in a single structure. For example, if you take honey which is to be licked and juice that is to be drunken, and there are some things which are to be masticated, there are some more medicines which are for sublingual absorption. Likewise, the consumption of that stuff on the basis of the nature of the stuff itself, as well as the nature of the consumer and his graspability, his ability to learn and assimilate, that differentiate various things. So the person must be capable of dealing with the discussions. Discussions only can make clear understanding. Number one, if I give you a lesson for 1.5 hours or 40 minutes, there is a limitation to grasp everything, to comprehend everything and put everything in order and to have a wholesome package inside the mind. It requires a process. It must have the RPM equivalency. What is known as RPM equivalency? The speed with which the orator or a person teaching in a static classroom, he just elucidates the things with the same speed or even a reasonable proportion of the speed. The person must be able to summarize, to form hints, as well as to collect the same thing and to place them in order, which he can munch later and which he can elaborate later in the form of a detailed writing. If the RPM level is not matching, it is not also matchable, the person requires dual discussions. Discussion with the teacher and student, number one. Discussion with the co-students with the students, and there are a lot of multi-level discussions also. So discussion gives you understanding. If understanding is not there in the first time, you try to understand by repetitive invasions. So understanding for the first thing, which is known as understanding, that is possible only by discussions. And the second thing is retention or memory, which is an exercise. So many people, just as a farmer cannot say that without cultivating anything, without sowing the seeds for anything, if he just comes for harvest and saying that nothing you could harvest, that is just ridiculous. Nobody has ever tried honestly for improving their memory. They might have taken some memory vita or Brahmi vita or some medicines. And what is the use of the medicines without proper inward exercises? They are just additives. Nobody has tried for memory boosting and memory substantialization. And the loss of memory or insufficiency of a memory is an inbuilt curse that cannot be eradicated unless you do exercise. Number two is retention, for which we have to do exercise. Number three, it is action, for which you have to do practice. So understanding is developed by discussion and memory is developed only by exercise. Only by exercise. Reading is not an exercise. Reading is not the exercise. The type of reading and the methodology of disintegration of the reading as per the time and stuff analysis, that is exercise. Movement, no doubt exercise is moving your body. But moving your body at any time, on any direction, at any angle, that will result in strain. So, organize the systematic movement of your body on repetitive and respective angles that constitute you exercise. So, reading is also a portion of the exercise of memory development. That does not mean that mere reading is memory. That has exercises. The third thing which I have told is action in presentation, which is by practice, sincere and effective practice. These things are oriented based on three major things which I have already told. Number one, the interest of the student, the necessity of the student, value and demand for those faculty in the society. First thing is interest, where you are interested, number one. Number two, what is the necessity of this education to you as a benefit? Number three, what is the value of this faculty in the society, what is the demand in the society? So, teaching is a process by which either organization or training for self-organization within the student for understanding memory and action through discussion, exercise and practice, understanding the interest, necessity, value and demand of the faculty in the society. This is what we explain in wholesome context as the process of teaching. So if we take in that manner, then we are seeing a difference. Seeing a difference between reading, studying and learning, reading, repeating and teaching. Reading is to try to understand the peripherals of verbs, conjunctions and try to make out something. It is your inceptive. It is a chaste trial of your inceptive inquisitiveness, that is known as reading. Then after coming to know about something by your repetitive reading or by external information, you are trying to study it. Learning is a process of knowing. Learning is a process in which you are trying to assimilate it. So, knowing to assimilate, trying to assimilate and being in the process of assimilation is this area. So, reading is different from studying, studying is different from learning. Likewise, a teacher just reading from the book is different from what he is or he is repeating what he has already read. And that is also different from what he is teaching, what she is teaching. So, no, most of the people, they are not teaching. If the teaching is there, if the learning is there, we have to see the effect. There is the effect, unavoidable effect of synthesis or synergy. If there is the instinct of learning, if there is the instinct of teaching, where is the result? We are not seeing it. So we have understood either of these ends or both of the ends are defective. So whatever you read and whatever you repeat from your already read story, that is not teaching at all. It is a process which metamorphoses the level of apprehension of the students by these processes. It is a very essential thing of this learning. And teaching is also not common. You have to understand the stability, capability and sturdity level of the students. There are 5 levels of students. One is aversion, second is incapability, third is struggle, fourth is desire, fifth is love. All the students, they cannot be just a sheep, flock of sheep is totally taken by a sheep herd for grazing. You cannot take all of these people in the same boat. People with aversion, they need treatment. And second, people who are having incapability in the faculty, they must be properly supported with the tools of apprehension. Those who are struggling, they must be given oxygenic upleveling. And those who are having the desire, that must be given the additive of informative boosting. And those who are having love, they must be fed with the feast of knowledge. So all of these people, immediately they must be tabulated by means of an introspective and endospective, exospective analysis that happens between those teachers who are not only qualified with the instruction methodology by B.Ed, but also with the psychoanalytical study. They must be knowing the arts of fraternizing the students. They must be knowing the art of inculcation, installation and injection. They must be knowing the art of taming the mind of the student and training the intellect of the student and invigorating their spirits. They must be demanding and commanding obedience, sincerity and honesty by their gesture, by their knowledge and presentation. Such a commanding people, they only can handle education, and that is going to be the dawn, that is going to be the golden era of education. So 4 major tools are given by the field of education of our Esther millennium. They must be having 4 skills, like Chaturveda, they must be having 4 skills. One is the skill of simplification, second is the skill of explanation, third is the skill of clarification, and fourth is the skill of beautification, which is illustration, exemplification, etc. So with these 4 skills, only they can handle education. Wherever the person is afraid of over-sufficiency or hyperabundance or exorbitance of a biblio-voluminous structure that has been forced and posed before him, at that level, the person must be given the comfort by means of simplification. You don't be so much for big on this thing. It is very simple. So that simplification talent must be there with the teacher. If as in as presentation and as it is rendering is given, what is the role of the teacher? That we can do within ourselves. We can teach ourselves more than most of the teachers they could do now. So second is the process of elucidation. Whenever there is insufficiency with a small level of presentations, with a negligible presentation, there we have to expand. So expanding and elucidating on already arduous and Herculean things and already unavailable things, if they are more simplified, it will result in a chaos. Already the things are too small for apprehension. If you further simplify, it will be very difficult. Already the things are in overburden. If you further elucidate things, that will be a burden. So we must not create bibliophobia, we must create craze towards education. Bibliomania must be created. That is the contribution of the teacher. So simplification on areas where they are afraid of exorbitance, and exemplification and illustration is very much important. That is known as sweetening process. There are people, that's I told in one seminar, there are people who have made even the complex and intricate subjects of biology, chemistry and equations as adventurous stories like Monte Cristo, the Treasure Island, Tale of Two Cities, Don Quixote, etc. They have made like that. And there are a lot of people who have made even the Pickwick Papers a very great curse and suffering. Even the non-details have been made as a curse and intolerable excruciating pain by their methodologies of explanation. So illustrations and exemplifications, they beautify the structure, and according to the contemporary mind, contemporary capability and the contemporary proclivity of the physical, psychic inclination status of the students, if it is understood, it can be very beautified by such people. That is also a skill. The third thing. The fourth thing is very simple. Each and everything you are going to exemplify. And wherever you exemplify, wherever you expand, wherever you simplify, still there may be some doubts. You must be ready to clarify any doubt at anything. So the clarification is the most powerful weapon of a teacher. The clarification must reduce the burden and fear of the students. It must not augment. Lot of the people, I told in one seminar, lot of the people, they are afraid to ask any doubts to the teachers, not only because of their ego and the other frictions within the student community. They are afraid that if they are exposed, the already known things will also be confused and diluted with some teachers. So these four skills are the major tools from the education, which is nothing but the shield, which is nothing but the ornament of the process of teaching. Apart from these four major tools, which have to be applied in different areas. I have told about 5 different students, 4 different tools, and also 3 different areas I am going to tell. One is the mathematical area, which deals with arithmetic progression. Second is the scientific area, which deals with derivation, equation and evolution principles. And third is the linguistic area, which is in the communication skill, which has grammatical, etymological, prosodical, philological and phonetic acoustic precisions and perfections. So these type of various things are there in these major schools of thought. On the basis of these 3 things, still we have to ponder upon the way of simplifying those things in different methodologies. There are 3 methodologies of teaching. One is by observation. Observation may be by repetitive visual observation, real visual observation and virtual real observation. The virtual observation is through pictorial or even media presentations. Media presentations. Number 2, depictive in the form of photograph or pictures, drawn pictures. By naturally seeing those things, by imagining those things by speculation as per descriptions given by the masters, all of these things are there in observation. First thing. And second thing is oration and audition, which was the first school of thought, Shruti and Amnaya. Whenever paper was invented, whenever pen was invented, we lost the skill of our memory. So we are celebrating simultaneously the memory loss ceremony along with the invention ceremony of the printing technology and writing technology. That is the real thing. Oral and auditive skills, they are the primitive skills, primogenitorial skills, antediluvian skills, primeval skills of the world. All the scriptures are being flourished only by that. So it shows the weakness of the people. It shows also we are ready to be weak and further we want to be weak. That is the invention of this thing. So oration and audition, number 1. Second thing is, already I have told about the observation. The third thing is subjection, by means of personally subjecting you for demonstrations. Science is based on subjection. So what I am trying to tell here is, why you are teaching all the subjects in the same manner. History, geography must not be taught in the manner which science is about to be. And languages are entirely different. Mathematics is entirely different. Don't adopt the same thing. Lot of things are there which are to be taught by subjection methodology. You teach everything by subjection methodology, number one. Oration and audition, which is there in the classrooms by the phenomenal conventional method of teaching, it is enough if you have 30% of teaching by teachers, is more than enough. By hearing things, they have lost the sense of audition, as they have been educated only in the system of reading, writing and producing, mugging up and vomiting in examinations and repeating in interviews. They have lost this oration and audition transaction at all. So that must be 30%, not avoidable. Rest of the thing must be visual communication. History is that you show a documentary about Mughal Empire, about colonial British imperialism, you show something by history, linguistics, all the other things. We can show by visual presentations, or by tourages, or by means of mutual discussions. Just leave them freely and they can learn more than what you can teach, number one. The oration and audition is the normal teaching process. It must be 30%, and 50% it must be visual presentations only. 20% is subjective, which is demonstrative inside the labs. It is a healthy proportion of distributing the systems of teaching. This only will cater to the need of the people of the contemporary society. You must understand. That is what yesterday I told about the pharmacokinematics and pharmacodynamics. You must understand the present day strength and the contemporary capability of the students to imbibe. Their time availability, their intention availability, we have to calculate, and we have to instill in education. These three things are to be calculated like that. That's why what I have suggested in some lectures is, whatever you are having the selective option of career molding or framing in the 10th standard to select the subject, that must be advanced to 8th standard, ESLC, not SSLC. Because 9th standard and 10th standard, in the ages, crucial ages of 13, 14 and 15, they are having absolute abnormal power of retention and apprehension that is spoiled in mathematics with differential calculus, integral calculus, vector algebra, matrices, etc., which they are not going to see in their life at all. So if they are totally exhausted in most of the things which are not going to apply at all, this 2 years of crucial and valuable precious period that is spent in consuming something which is futile and which is not going to save them. It may be useful for somebody else. Even they are having the Pascal, Cobalt and other languages in scientific inventions. Now they are applied, but it is not for the common man. So ESLC, proper age of learning, proper time of learning, proper structure of learning must be implanted. It is possible only by autonomous institutions. And wherever there is government affiliation, it is very difficult to impart. Now I am going to my subject, which is on eco-pedagogy. There are three pedagogies: physiopedagogy, psychopedagogy and eco-pedagogy. Apart from framing the syllabus and methodology of teaching, understanding the physical receptivity and deficiency of a person is known as physiopedagogy. Understanding the mentality, the caliber, acumen, sharpness, the perspicacity and the wide skills of the person present inside is known as psychopedagogy. And eco-pedagogy is understanding the environment. Environment, it is not generally defined as what we consider environment as a trees, streams, then water, pools, designs, interior decoration. It is not environment. The Vedic system or the traditional system of environment, eco-conduciveness or ergonomics, it is entirely different from what we feel now. That all these things are ornamental and krittima, artificial things, they not come for rescue. So environment deals with number one, places, number two, persons, number three, relations. It deals with places, persons in the places, relations with the persons, impact of the relations with the persons, and also it deals with the inter as well as the external impact of the influential factors which is totally contributing on a person's education, development or hindrance. Person, place, relation, impact and external influence of factors. It is a study of this eco-pedagogy system. And this eco-pedagogy also, there are two systems. One is known as endo-academic, second is known as exo-academic. That which is within the academic campus is known as endo-academic. That which is outside, which distance the person's education, is known as exo-academic. Inside the academic campus, there are four major principles. One is the adaptive or the adaptative environment inside the mind of the student. What is the inner environment of the student? First we have to understand, number one. The environment or the compatibility between the teacher and the student, number two. Number three, the environment of compatibility between the student and the co-students. Number four, environment about the campus, infrastructure, availability of facilitating a person's trouble-free education with the student. All of these things are endo-academic. Then exo-academic, it deals with the domestic and fraternal relations. What is the domestic relation? Domestic relation is of 5 types. One is indulgence in the family, over-indulgence. Second is rigidity in the family, over-rigidity. Third thing is negligence. Fourth thing is friction in relation. Fifth thing is economical or health related problems in the family which affect the children. So these things are the domestic factors which hinder into the person's education. Without understanding all of these composite and consummate structure, no teacher in the world can educate these people at all. Second, we come to the fraternal relations. The friends are more dearer than when compared to that of even the parents and the children relation and the teacher and student relation. Teacher, there is a respect as well as the generation gap, and also with the parents we have a generation gap and also respect or fear or some sort of friction, it may be there. So the friends are very much essential. In ancient periods we used to call them sabrahmacharis, and they will be with like-minded script, and also they will be having unanimity in functions. Now we cannot see such people. We are having 4 fraternal societies. One is the school fraternity, second is the street fraternity, third is the sports fraternity, and fourth is the selective fraternity, that is Rahasya Snehita. All of these people are very limited in group, and those people they determine everything. So how a teacher can just tie himself or herself with a student and watch all of these things? It is very important for all of these factors to be understood. They cannot do. In our ancient systems, they had 3 systems: incubation center, critical care unit, and intensive care units were there in our ancient system. Number 1, incubation center. If you just in the age of innocence, before budding into the way of getting into the curse or boon of rational, garbhashtame brahmanopanita, in the 7th age itself, the person is taken and handed over to the master. So where comes the fraternal society? The only fraternal society is the education society. There is nothing at all. There are 2 things. Learn while you are being exposed. Learn everything, then expose. Expose everything and learn. If you expose in everything and learn, more than being learned, you will be deviated and misguided, number 1. While you are learning and exposed, that exposure will be a hindrance. It may not be an additive. That is uncertain. So if you are well exposed in the society and learn, that is difficult. The second thing is very uncertain. So in the ancient systems, we first dealt with the system of learning properly. After having learned good and bad and skill of distinguishment and understanding identity and commitment and willpower, etc. If you are posed before the world, you can withstand with courage. You can withstand with perfection and precision. That is the incubation center. In the small ages, they have been left to the teachers, the control of the teachers. The teachers were fully responsible. Now they cannot take the full responsibility because of the other factors. Endo-academic factors were very limited, and exo-academic factors, they are very considerable in stages, both qualitatively and quantitatively. I have already told. The second is intensive care units. At the time of training, at the time of examinations, they must be put into intensive care. And those people who are totally fit for nothing, number 1, non-productive. Number 2, those who are destructive and hyper-destructive. There are a lot of juvenile prisoners in the state of Ohio, and they have asked me a project for molding them with skills. Not only for making them corrigible, tameable and socializable, to kindle their skills and to make them comfortably people of achievement, persons of accomplishment as any other person is there in the society. So such rehabilitation is known as critical care units. So the knowledge system must have incubation center for removing this endo-academic influence, and also responsible centers for intensive care for molding the character and succession in examinations. And the third thing is it has a critical care unit for the useless people, so-called useless people and the so-called destructive members of the community. It is very important. For that there are 2 major skills. One is understanding about the skill itself and development of concentration, and third is school responsibility or academic responsibility. Fourth is the character, fifth is the career. This way I am going to conclude this session. Number 1, skill. Skill has 3 points. One is skill identification, second is nurturing of the skill, and third is skill balancing. A person may have academic skill, aesthetic skill, artistic skill, academic skill. What of skills are? Linguistic skills are there, innovative scientific skills, innumerable skills are there within the people. They must be properly identified and nurtured. And there must be a balancing system also in the skill. See, for example, all the skills inside, they may be either a hindrance to our education or it may be an additive to education. For example, if a person is interested in cricket and if he is not studying properly, it is the duty of a teacher to understand his athletic competency, whether if the person is totally immersed in the process of athletic boosting and athletic dedication. For the person, education is useless. You can have a basic education or just basic information is more than enough. So skill balance is very important. If your person's skill performance is subservient to academic skills, then it must be taken in such a manner that it does not hinder. It is a center of our relaxation and recreation for boosting the person's academic performance and excellence. If the athletic or academic or skill performance is more, for which academic knowledge or interest is subservient, then the person must be promoted in the skill area where he is identified, spotted and nurtured. It is known as skill balance. Second is concentration. There are two types of concentration. One is a casual inherent concentration, and second thing is emergent accelerated concentration. Any person who sees only his book at the time of Saraswati Puja or occasionally unavoidably, such persons at the time of the examinations, whenever he is going to face a crucial thing of certification, you may know a lot of things, but to make others know what you know, for knowing things furtherly or doing things furtherly, you need a certificate. What is certificate? Certificate is an announcement. It is an inscriptive announcement to say everybody that you know, so that you can know further by higher education or do further by your knowledge for professional excellence. So it is no certification. For that everybody is having one emergent accelerating instinct which tempts the person to go for some sort of memory and concentration. That type of memory is very much dangerous to the cerebral system at all. Suddenly shocking the brain and the cerebral system, giving a hyper load of something which he has not dreamt at all even before that, even he has not desired at all. It is a load to the cerebral system, it is pernicious to a person's health also. Then the casual memory system is casually consuming things. It is a piecemeal way of consumption which is very facilitated and salubrious to the body. Before understanding concentration, we have to understand only the factors which are against concentration. Factors that disturb, factors that they deviate, and factors that deter. It appears to be synonymous, but it has a lot of differences. Factors that deter, it won't allow you to do anything at all. That disturb, that will not allow you to do effectively this thing. Deviate, that will allow you to do something better but different. So deviation will make you to do something else, and deterring thing, it won't allow you to do anything at all, and disturbing to you, that don't allow you to do this thing effectively. So they are entirely different, they are not synonymous. So they have to be understood. And these deviations, why they are very much pleasant? For four reasons. All the deviating factors, they are very much having thrill, whether positive or negative, they have thrill. And they are adventurous in nature. And those things are simple and sweet. And fourth thing, they are in varieties. You impart the same thing in education with varieties, simple and sweet, with thrill and adventurous background, which now they have coined a new word known as edutainment. Educational entertainment is now called as edutainment. Then I have quoted a word, spiritual entertainment in a theme park known as spritainment. So you make this edutainment, all of these factors, why they are attractive there? In spite of knowing that that is a disturbance, that is destructive, still they are falling there. They are being preyed. And they are not attempted here. So you induce the factors of attraction in productive things and create something which is of contemporary and perennial value. Perpetual way of attraction for the society, for their benefit, must be understood. Now I am going to talk about school responsibility, very simple. Who can do this thing? Domestic, society, government or school. Only school can do. Government cannot impose these things at all. The society, there is no proper person to do that. And in the family, the relation, the timings available and their intimacy levels, they are very different. So they won't hear. The most familiarity and intimate relations, they breed only contempt. And people are not in a position to learn these advices or hear these advices. Advices have become very tedious and unbearable, shock to the modern society. Whenever somebody advises, they think that they have been belittled at all. So that is the mentality. So schools only, wherever these people, the students are available, they have to start the process of inculcation. For school, at least prefabricatedly or perfunctorily, they will sit in the campus and try to listen something. So schools, they have the responsibility of doing all of these things. And it must be done with a special system, not with the system that is available now. Now let us conclude with character and career. How to do with character? What is character? Character is a determined will of a person to see that he can comfort all. The process by which he can comfort all, if you see character is bringing happiness to you, most of the character-oriented activities may not bring happiness to you. Like sacrifice, penance, austerity, like most of the things which are good to us, like pregnancy, delivery, and surgery, etc., they start with pain, but they end in gain. And lot of these things like gambling, drinking, alcoholism, addiction, etc., they start with gain but end in vain and pain. So these things we have to understand. Character is not defined by its benefit, what you call or what you design, what you expect. Character is a pride in its own. If you are having the character, it is an inbuilt pride and you don't need any certification or any respect, reputation, recognition in the society to accept that you are having that character. It is an inbuilt pride, independent on anybody's assurance, recognition, reputation and augmentation in remuneration. It is not so. So that must be having three major ages whom we can teach character. Certainly not with the higher secondary people or college people. So sitting with patients and hearing and obedience that has been lost by people who are overexposed. There is an age, impressionable age, which does not know anything. There are two people who can be inculcated character. The persons who are in a crude state before being molded, they can be inculcated. Persons who know about the values of character, either by their betterness or bitterness, those who want character and self-molding, for them we can inculcate. And youngsters in that community, it is very difficult to find the second category. And the first category of people in the kindergarten and the elementary level, they are in the crude level, they are undesigned. Those people have inbuilt obedience inside them. We need three qualities for character molding and preservation. Very important thing is, we need three qualities. One is obedience, second is staunchness, and third is willpower. If I am teaching you to be truthful, honest and friendly to all, you can be obedient. That is the inceptive stage. When we are facing a different type of world, I am like this and everybody is like that and still they are happy. At that time you must not be confused. For that you must have staunchness. And third thing, you are troubled a lot, you are cheated a lot, you are betrayed by the society. At that time you have to continue your honesty. For that mere obedience and staunchness is not enough. Willpower must be developed. So obedience can be taught by the teachers. Satyam vada dharman jaya. But this willpower as well as the staunchness must be cultivated only by spiritual knowledge, the knowledge of God, infinity, eternity and truth. And normal education of finite and perishable structures within the limited boundaries is inefficient and insufficient to teach all of these things. So with these words, I want to conclude that with Dr. Swaminathan, Nomani and the other academicians present here, and under the able guidance of Rajput, we are going to make a syllabus of character-oriented education. And whether the people are going to accept that or not, we are least bothered. It is our duty to do something, to leave something to the world before we depart, because we have been ported with a particular design, a particular structure and a particular destination to achieve by God. And the career molding is also very important. I have already told in last of my lectures that everybody is imitating what the other people do. Everybody is having limited knowledge. Everybody is competing with other people and designing their careers. He is becoming doctor, I will also become doctor. Everybody is becoming doctor, I will also become doctor. My father is a doctor, I will become a doctor. He wanted to become a doctor, he could not, so I am becoming a doctor. All of these things are having no reasons. So limitative, imitative, competitive and initiate methodologies of selecting the career is totally insignificant. So at the age of 10, 12 itself, career designers must be brought to the students. They must be had person-to-person interview, number one. Compositive structure, understanding, analysis of the students, number two. Number three, addressing for the mass, understanding their various vitalities must be done for the career. Without which the career cannot be more. So it is an area where we have to design the career, curriculum and character. It is perfect education and we are going to work for it. Narayan, Narayan, Narayan.